It strikes me a lot of the companies though that you represent, they don't seem that interested in cutting carbon emissions. You look at Eskom, who are primarily coal, RWE have a lot of coal too. EDF say they're very keen on cutting carbon emissions, but the statistics might suggest otherwise. Is this just an exercise in PR, or are these countries definitely keen on moving forward in a sustainable point of view?
It's not a question of PR, not at all. Well, in the global partnership, what we do, well, what the companies do is that their contribution to giving access to electricity, and it has no commercial objective behind that. So we don't, we don't represent the companies in their core activities. But of course, those companies do a lot of things to increase or to decrease the carbon emissions generated by their activities. And just this morning, I attended the launch of a global electricity initiative. I think that the real event will occur this afternoon if it didn't happen. So they did a lot, and it's not very well known. I've heard here in that summit, in the World Climate Summit, that large corporations do nothing but seeking to eliminate the risk. This is not true. And large corporations and large utilities like those we have in the partnership do a great job, and they act as a catalyst to bring together all the parties, the stakeholders involved and that need to be involved to lead us toward a more sustainable world. And I can give you examples if you allow me.
Yeah, I mean, I just did the history in the UK is that these large energy companies are solely focused on profit and occasionally launch a green scheme in order to keep the government off their back. In terms of the investment these companies are making in renewable energy, I take it that's part of your scheme.
Yeah.
What sort of factors are you putting in terms of renewable energy investment?
Well, just to make clear, in the Global Sustainable Electricity Partnership, we invest in developed countries. It's not the core business of all those companies, so we don't intervene in this field. We act in developing countries and in emerging as well. So the projects are, the purpose of those projects are to give access to electricity to remote population. They have no commercial purpose behind the project, but they have to be profitable. If it's not profitable, it is not sustainable. You should have mechanisms or tools to ensure the cost recovery and some profits also. Because once the project is done, once the project is built, you have to transfer it to the local community. So if you generate no profit, how will you pay for operation, maintenance? How can you have a long-term perspective? So it's impossible. You must generate profits. If I can just use an example, we did a project, a mini hydro project in Philippines, a 200 kilowatt hydropower project. And this project generates profits that helps the local community, that gives access to a local community, but at the same time, the profits are reinvested for the rehabilitation of the rice terraces. The rice terraces, at the same, you know, it's a World Heritage Site on one side, it's a World Heritage Site, and also it's a source of livelihood for the people living there. So if it's not, you know, it's sustainable in that manner. It generates profit, probably not huge profit, but sufficient profits. And also it won't be replicable if you don't have any profits. So you must seek, you must use those tools like PPA, power purchase agreements, to secure cost recovery and some profit. This is the way that we can make it profitable. But when I talked about public-private partnerships also, we didn't do the project by our own. Large companies cannot do it all. Well, we cannot substitute for governments either. We have to work together very closely. And in the Philippines, the key of the success, well, the success factors were that the government of Philippines, the Department of Energy, was really involved. The provincial government also of Ifugao was involved. The municipality was involved. The project was profitable. It was part of a national development plan because Philippines is very dynamic and proactive in developing sustainable energy. So it's not a standalone project. So it will be also replicable. And that's what we're searching. Well, I know it's a very long definition for sustainability. I couldn't do best, but, well, that's what it means for the companies that we work with.
And does your organisation, I mean, do you advocate the use of coal, or do you think that in the long term, Eskom clearly rely heavily on coal? So I think South Africa's 90 or 95% reliance on coal for electricity. Do you think that in the long term, is it agreed amongst your members that sources of energy such as coal will just not be able to be used in the future?
Well, I won't say that coal will not be used in the future. I think it's impossible to eradicate coal-fired plants totally. I think we're dreaming if we say that. But companies are doing a lot of efforts to lower their emissions. They work on the adaptation side. Sorry. And if you have participated to different panels that we had here involving those companies, you would be very surprised by the huge efforts that they do to move or to shift toward lower emitting technologies and to introduce in the energy mix renewable energies. But of course, we have to generate energy on a base load to equilibrate, to balance, to back up intermittent sources of energy, and they have a responsibility also in the reliability of supply. So those companies have a very huge burden, I would say, on their shoulders, but they are doing a lot, and I invite you to look at the Global Electricity Initiative to convince you they are doing their part. And well, we need to work together, all together with governments, authorities, and the private sector has a major role to play, and that's what we're trying to do, and that we've done for 20 years in our organization.